in the last couple of days, Iran have dealt the United States what I would describe as one of their most humiliating military blows ever. And I know that sounds a bit cheeky, but once I've presented the facts to you and we've gone through the report and I give you the analysis, I think you'll share my opinion. And I think you'll share the opinion of other analysts as well in seeing how devastating this is. Okay. So you have to understand that the way the Iron Dome works, the early warning system, the radar that Israelis and the United States rely on, it's not in Israel. Okay. They make you think that the whole Iron Dome system and Arrow and David Sling is all based inside of Palestine. It's not. The front line of that system, of that umbrella, begins in the Khalij or the Persian Gulf where the Arab kingdoms are. Okay, this is the front line. It's right there. And it makes sense because they've placed them directly right opposite Iran. Yeah, so it's not very subtle. Okay, so you remember the very first day I showed you that video of this radome, this thing that looks like a massive golf ball in the NSA base in Bahrain where the 5th Fleet stationed out of, being blown up. Okay, now that is very significant because it basically permits the Americans to talk to their ships. Okay, it's a communications hub that allows the ships, the vessels that are in the water, to talk to the 5th Fleet headquarters in Manama in Bahrain, and also to talk to the Pentagon in Washington. Okay, so that's very, very, very significant. And I'll show you on the map here. And again, I've gone and done all of this myself manually. That's why I haven't been broadcasting during the last days. I've been suffering doing this stuff. But these are the GSC 52B SATCOM terminals that were taken out. Okay, so just take a look at that. Right, you see, you can already tell it's an American base because there's a baseball field on there. But anyway, you see the two radomes over there. Okay, so that's what they used to look like, and that's what they look like now. Right, that's what they look like now. So you can see they're just those black giant craters. Okay, they're completely gone, and also the warehouse here on the left is completely decimated. But yeah, believe me, it was not easy getting all these photos, like searching through the base the whole time. And it's just one. This is not even the most important part. It's not even the most important part. The real blow to the THAAD system and the Patriot system is in Qatar, first of all. Okay, this here, the ANFPS 132, we'll just say 132 for short, costs $1 billion. This thing costs $1 billion. It is so massive, it's going to take 8 years to rebuild this. And people say it's in Al Udeid Air Base. It's actually just north of it. Okay, so here, look at the map. Okay, that's where the airbase is, and this is where the site is of this radar that costs $1 billion. Okay, it's got a giant, massive hole in it. It costs $1 billion, and it's going to take another 8 years to build. It's 40 feet tall. It's very, 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 very big. It's absolutely massive, and there's only 6 of these on the planet. This was the only one in the Middle East. It's the only one, and it had the largest range, right, out of all of the radar systems that the United States has. And you have to think how embarrassing this is, that you have a $50,000 drone, right, like a Shahed 136. Well, let's say a swarm. Like let's imagine you send 100 of them, right, like till you actually you actually hit this. Even if you send 100 or 200, it's still way more cost effective. Like you compare, $50,000 times 100 to this thing that costs $1 billion and takes 8 years to build. By the way, you're still screwed even if you had the money and a time machine. Why? Because you still need the raw materials, these rare earth minerals, from China. China has the overwhelming majority of them. So, Iran could phone up the Chinese and say, put the squeeze on them. You're never building this again. Good luck. I mean, I can't overstate how screwed up this is for the Americans, right? Like if I were them, I would genuinely be crying. So that's the one in Qatar. Now, if you look at Jordan, UAE, and Saudi, okay, they have the other smaller radars that cost about like 500 million each, okay? And those were also the only ones in the Middle East. Although, allow me to preface that by saying there's one more left in the Negev. One more. But those are the main THAAD radars, and they're all destroyed now. All of them. Okay? So I also mapped those out for you as well. Let's go to the, let's start with UAE, for example, okay? So let's go to Ruwais base, okay? And yeah. Yeah, so look, this is how it used to look before, okay? That's how it is on Google Maps. And then if I overlay, you can see the black charred spots. Now, it's true that there's less shadow, right? Don't you know, mistake the two. But that is definitely destroyed. That black mark over there, it's cooked, okay? That's definitely cooked. And there's another one over here, okay? That's definitely gone. That's just gone, okay? That's the TP2, right? We just, the one we looked at in Qatar was the 132. This one is smaller, less expensive, and it's called the TP2. So this is Ruwais base in UAE. Now, not too far away, you've got Al Sadr base, okay? And it has an identical radar system, right? TP2, and that one also got smoked. Okay, so I'll just show you how it used to be and how it is afterwards. You can see down here these black spots on the structure. Again, they're separate from the shadow of the sun, right? You can definitely tell them apart, right? That one is definitely a strike. That one's definitely a strike, and you know it's just cooked. It's completely cooked. Gone. Right now, if we look at Jordan, for example, right, in Jordan we've got the Salty Air Base, and that one was also cooked, right? I think the image has gone out of where I placed it earlier, but you know, just leaving the rest aside, you can kind of see it's completely charred and destroyed. Again, I forgot where I placed this image. I think Google Maps is tripping a bit, but this one is 100%, 100% from Jordan, from this specific base, and that is cooked. That is gone, right? Completely smoked. And then if we look at Saudi Arabia, right, there's another TP2 radar there in Prince Sultan Air Base, also completely cooked. It's even on fire in the satellite photo, right? So that's how it used to be, and you can just see the smoke bellowing out of it, okay? Cooked. And these were the only ones in the Middle East. There's just one left in the Negev. One left. This is why the Israelis have no more early warning, you know, in terms of strikes. They don't get them from Gaza and Lebanon, by the way. Like when Hezbollah or Hamas fire something at the Israelis, first of all, they're not ballistic missiles usually, and you know, the distance is so short that there simply isn't enough time to give them a head start the way there is or used to be with these, right? These things, you would get like maybe 5 minutes, a little bit more, right? Now it's like down to 1 minute. And it's not me saying this, okay? It's not me saying this. I'll show you. Give me 1 second. I'll show you what the Israelis are saying. I just want to show you one last thing in Kuwait, right? The one in Kuwait is devastated. I mean, it's not a TP2 system. But it's still the point that I wanted to impress upon you. Just look at Afrijan base. I mean, I lost count of the number of photos I overlaid on this. It's completely, utterly smoked. It's completely smoked. I think this base got hit worse than the others, although I hesitate to say that because the Iranians have been pounding every single one of these bases over and over and over. It's like, you know, sometimes in a movie, you see someone who's like taking a beating that is just, it's so over the top. It's like, dude, the guy's dead already. Just please stop it. It's like, it's inhumane at this point. That's what Iran is doing. I'm not kidding. Like they damaged, right, these things. I say damaged because they're devastated. A few days ago, they have spent the last couple of days pulverizing and grinding them to dust. Do you understand? Like they're trying to make a point. They're really trying to make a point, and that's why they keep hitting the same bases over and over and over and over again. It's just they are grinding them to dust. Specifically, these systems. Right? They're making a point, like you're not getting up, right? Stay down. That's the point they're trying to make. Anyway, here's the base in Kuwait, right? Afrijan. I mean, dude, look at how many things blown up. Okay, here's the first one that I overlaid. Right? Look at that. Completely, utterly destroyed. You see that? Gone. Here's another one. Over here, right? Look at that. Okay, here's another one. and another one. I think you get the idea. I'll just turn them all on and you can kind of see what I mean, right? So the thing is, you go on CNN or like other sources, they'll show you the before and after of like a small snippet. That's not good enough for me, and I know it's not good enough for you guys. So I wanted to give you the full package where you can see the whole base and just look at how, I mean, it's been smoked. It's been smoked. And this is not even everything, right? This is just what we know, what we have. And, you know, there could be additional strikes that we don't know about or haven't been published by the, you know, the services that publish these satellite photos. As a matter of fact, Planet Labs, for example, have imposed the mandatory limit now of 96 hours on all things relating to this region specifically. What they're basically saying is the damage is so humiliating and so bad, we can't show you the photos. Because honestly, there's no risk to operational security. The operational security risk came years and years and years ago, okay? I mean, and there's nothing you can really do about it anyway, because at one point or another, you know, either Google Maps is going to inadvertently publish the location or a photograph, and someone is going to pick up on it, or the Chinese or the Iranians or the Russians are going to develop a space program because they're smarter than you, and they are simply going to figure out what you have and where it is. And they did. Lo and behold. So, you know, there is no operational security consideration. There just isn't, okay? There isn't. So at this point, it's purely propaganda. It's purely about saving face. That's what it is, okay? It's purely about saving face. And there's also, this other base in, did I already show you Ali Salem in Kuwait? No, I didn't. This is the other one. It's not too far, right? And yeah, this one is just literally on fire. The whole bloody place. Just look at that. That is astonishing. That's the whole base. Look at it. They probably hit the fuel depots, the aviation fuel depots there. In addition, of course, to the tower that you can see right here, which I placed this marker, right? You can see here they hit the satellite. Let me unblur that and zoom right in. Do you see the snow globe again? The radome. That's a radome over there. There's a satellite dish here. Again, I think I saw New York Times publish it, but they didn't show you where it is or what's going on. You wouldn't know reading their stuff how badly this base has been hit. I think now, when I show you this, you get the idea. I mean, that is humiliating. So all in all, this is billions of dollars. Like the United States have never lost this much infrastructure and that much money in such a short amount of time. So do you understand what is going on? This is why I spent days on this. I was like, oh my God, when they see this, like you're going to freak out. Has anyone shown you this in the mainstream media or even in independent media? Like actually put it into perspective. It's mind-boggling. This is decolonization in real time. Literally, they're wiping the goddamn region clean of this American cancer. You can't rebuild this stuff. This takes years. Each one of these radars that I showed you in the UAE, in Saudi, and Qatar, and in Jordan. The 132 that's in Qatar, and that costs $1 billion, and then all of the smaller ones that are part of the THAAD systems as well in the other 4 countries. Dude, so that's $1 billion, and the other ones are like 300 to 500 million each. And they take years to rebuild, years. I would cry if I was CENTCOM. I really would. You know, I've spent like the last year and a half like writing a book about counter surveillance. So the cybersecurity thing. So this is not 100% the same thing, but there's definitely an overlap between the two, right? So I can appreciate, right, figuratively, what this equipment does, even though I hate it because it's being used to kill people, including journalists. You know, right? The whole point is counter surveillance. But my point is, I understand the value of that equipment, what it means to them, and how screwed they are. That's what I'm trying to impress upon you. Is that this is really serious. This is really, really bad for them. So just to show you what the Israelis and their, in terms of their sirens and early warning system and so on, okay? Because we have to be clear for a second. I know they want to make it out to seem like, oh, well, these are purely defensive things, right? And the police even try to give me shit about this. Like specifically these battle reports that I'm doing, like they try to, you know, like, hey, yeah, but those are defensive things, and you know, like try to make a distinction as if they know their ass from their elbow. No, I'm sorry, like, you know, this is not defensive. And by the way, you know, a military occupation is a military occupation. It doesn't matter, you know, what tools they use. I mean, it's a completely redundant point. And these oil kingdoms that host these US bases were made up by the UK. They didn't even exist 100 years ago. Some of them didn't even exist 50 years ago. They're military bases. That's the whole point that they were created, is for the oil and for these bases that I just showed you. That's their only reason for existing, is to oppress people in the region. That's it. And lo and behold, they were used to attack Iran. They weren't just used defensively. They were used offensively. And they can be, right? Just because you can use some of these systems to detect missiles doesn't mean that you can't use them for offensive purposes, right? And also, if you're the one starting the war and, you know, you're going to shield yourself from retribution or from retaliation, well, that's not really defensive because you're still the aggressor. Anyway, you know, we're going to start falling into the philosophical debate now, which is completely redundant. I want to show you what the Israelis are saying in their media. Give me a second. Where is this? So, yeah, this is from this was from the Times of Israel, okay? And they were saying basically that they've cut down. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, sirens warning, okay? So IDF says it cannot guarantee that it will send an alert for missiles before sirens sound, right? So the Israelis went from, we have the best missile defense system and you know, Arrow and Iron Dome and all of this detection and, oh, we are so smart and so great, to this, okay? You see that? IDF says it cannot guarantee that it will send an alert before missile sirens sound. Okay, so in the article, and this is also reported in the Jerusalem Post, it's in all of the Israeli outlets. They also say basically that the IDF didn't specify why. Well, I think the reason is very obvious. It's because your eyes and ears have been taken out. They've been taken out by Hezbollah, who in you know, hitting not just the observation posts on the blue line, which are you know, more about signals intelligence and electronic warfare, but specifically, you know, air traffic control in Ramat David Air Base and Meron as well. Those definitely are linked to the Iron Dome, and they hit also the Iron Dome radar in Haifa. So Hezbollah are actually contributing to this campaign, and also, not to mention that your main eyes and ears in the Gulf have been taken out. I mean, you know, people try to talk about Israel and the Gulf like they're two separate things, but this really goes to show you that it's not just political, but even on an infrastructure level, you know, and in terms of military cooperation, when they say military cooperation, this is what they mean. They mean they want to put radars in the Gulf countries to protect Israelis. But, you know, what does the Gulf get in return? No one really knows. The answer is nothing. So you can see here also the level of censorship has gone through the roof. You've probably noticed in the last couple of days, there are no more videos coming out of Tel Aviv and of Israel, even though these strikes have ramped up. Everything I've shown you is completely 100% factual, okay? All of this is happening now. It's happened in the last, you know, 48, 72 hours. How on earth is it that you're not seeing any footage? I collect and gather and collate and disseminate news for a living. So when I'm telling you that there's something weird going on here, there's something weird going on here. You know, this is a conflict of this magnitude. It's the largest war in 20 years, right? I think we can all agree on that. It surpasses Ukraine and Russia, for sure. There should be way more footage. The Israelis have enacted now a campaign of censorship that's unbelievable. They're knocking down cameras, CCTV cameras in the street. They've always had a military censor, which is actually a British thing. They took from the British mandate, very democratic. And they've said that anyone who posts or films any of the destruction gets 5 years in prison, Israeli or otherwise. And you can see here on the news, look at CNN. Just, you know, take it from them.
We're not showing you that because we're not going to show, the Israeli government does not allow us or want us to show where that may have come up, that interceptor. But I'm not.
Did you hear that? I'll turn it up again just so you can hear it.
There. We're not showing you that because we're not going to show, the Israeli government does not allow us or want us to show where that may have come up, that interceptor. But I'm not going to go up there.
Yeah, very, very clearly They don't want you to see anything. And this idea that they don't want them to see the interceptors is ridiculous. Iran knows every single inch of every interceptor very obviously, right? I think we've proven that point, haven't we? So it's complete utter nonsense, right? And if that were the case, you wouldn't have to censor people from filming the destruction, would you? Because the destruction is you keep claiming it's arbitrary, that the Iranians are barbarians and they're just hitting everywhere. Well, you don't have interceptors everywhere, do you? So why can't people film the destruction? Where is it? It's bollocks, right? It's again one of these things where they pretend like they're a democracy and everyone else is authoritarian, and it's 180 degrees the other way. So here's some clips that I again, a lot of this is taking time to verify as well. I can't just like gather any clip and show it to you because someone said it's from Tel Aviv. It could be from 2025. It could be from another part of Israel or occupied Palestine. It could be debris falling from the missiles, and maybe not even the missiles themselves. So a lot of this takes a lot of time to prepare. These are some of the clips that I was able to more or less verify, right? And some of them are AI as well, by the way. That's another danger now, that some clips are just completely AI. But these are legitimate. So this is a genuine clip. This was filmed east of Tel Aviv, right? And I'm just going to show you a bit of the strikes that have happened, not just tonight, but also in the last couple of days, just so you get an idea of the scale of what is happening there. Right. Now, this clip over here is from also Tel Aviv. Right, and this one as well. I'm not sure actually if this one's from Tel Aviv, but I definitely know it's genuine, and it was from March 5th. Okay. Do you see how they're coming down in groups, right? So people are calling them cluster munitions. They're not cluster munitions. That's one of these things where the Israelis like try to, every Israeli accusation is a confession. Look, a cluster, right, is not the same thing as a cluster bomb, right? You can have a cluster of stars or a clusterfuck. It doesn't mean it's the same thing. Okay. Cluster bombs are usually dumb munitions that are dropped indiscriminately by the Americans especially, and the Israelis especially, in Vietnam, in Laos, in Cambodia, in Lebanon. And they have a notorious dud rate, meaning a lot of them don't even go off, and they stay as mines or booby traps and blow up randomly decades later and maim people. That's what cluster bombs are known for. And by the way, the Americans used them in Iraq as well in 2003. So when the Israelis say these are cluster munitions, they're not. They're MIRVs. So basically, they're all coming out of a missile. They're guided and they are dispersed in a cluster, but they're not being randomly dropped on civilians, in densely populated areas. They are all guided and taken to a specific military target, right? And again, they are a completely different class of munitions and incomparable. It's total propaganda, right? So it's a cluster of munitions, but it's not a cluster munition. Okay, it's a very, very important distinction. So yeah, you can see more of these things coming in, and the reason you're seeing more of these, MIRVs, these multiple reentry munitions, is because the Iranians unveiled the Haybar missile, right, a while back, a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think they put it into service a few months ago, yeah, and then they've used it now for the first time in a theater of war. So they were spamming the older missiles from the 90s and early 2000s, still are, by the way, for the most part, before switching to these. So they haven't even exhausted their older armaments, but this is one of the newer ones, certainly. And it's, again, one of these things that the Americans and Israelis themselves don't have. So my point with this is that these things, they're not even getting alerts for them anymore now, right? They're not even getting alerts, the Israelis. Here, by the way, this is from the Jerusalem Post. Same thing I was telling you. Look at this. All right. So IDF issues shorter warning times for recent Iranian missile attacks. Okay. and they're basically saying that the IDF is issuing shorter than usual warning times, and that they sent in one example they sent an alert at 7:16, sorry, at 7:19, and it was only they basically had a 3-minute buffer between the two, right, and then only 1-minute buffer between the other one. So and here 2 minutes. Usually that you don't have just 1 or 2 minutes. You have a bit longer than that to get to the shelter, right? And they say at the very bottom of the article, again, this line, which is such, I mean, ridiculous propaganda. The IDF did not explain the reason for Friday's short warning times. And then the article just ends. I mean, well, okay, the IDF doesn't want to explain it. How about you explain it? I don't know, like you're an Israeli journalist or outlet, isn't, who is going to explain it if you don't? You know why there's no warning, and you're embarrassed to say it. It's because your radar systems have been barbecued extra crispy by the Iranians, and you fucking know it, and it drives you crazy that they have bested you. That is the truth. That is the truth, and you know this, and you won't say it. Either you won't say because you don't want to. By the way, the other possibility is the military censor. Again, very democratic Israel, right? Totally democratic. Here, this one was the article in the Times of Israel, right? The IDF said the change in alert timing was not due to technical issues. It wasn't. What was it due? Netanyahu had a change of heart? What does that mean? It was not due to technical issues. Like, again, just utter gibberish, right? Operational consideration. What operational considerations? Just like killing everyone in your populace? I mean, this is garbage, really. It's so thinly, veiled. It's not even like a good job done. And the Americans doing the same thing, by the way, with their with their KIA, which we'll talk about in a bit. But this is really just they're actually the only ones I've seen in Israeli media that actually tried to touch on the fact that it's because of the radars, right? So they say here that satellite images of bases in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan suggests that Iran is attempting to blind the United States by targeting critical radar systems. Yeah, they're not attempting. They've already blinded you, evidenced by the photos I just showed you and the fact that you're saying you've got no warning. So I think they've succeeded. It's very, very clear what's going on, right? And I don't think that the Israelis or the Americans expected any of this. And I think that they've been, it's a classic, typical example of two arrogant military powers picking on someone who they think is smaller and then getting punched in the face, right? Again, you might not like the analogy. You might think it's a bit colorful, but it's an accurate analogy. It's a factual, objective analogy. It's true, right? You can't realistically think that America and Israel knew that this would happen and let it happen. I really think that they honestly believed Iran is not capable of doing it. And the irony is that Iran did it with less money, right? It's not like they had to struggle to do it. Some of these drones are made of carbon fiber, like the ones Hezbollah are using as well. They don't even make noise, right? No noise. You can't see them on the radar because they're not packed with metal. It's incredible, honestly, from an engineering, from an objective point of view. What these people have been able to do under sanctions with no resources or limited resources compared to two of the greatest or so-called greatest military and intelligence apparatus, or entities in the world. It is remarkable. I mean, sorry, it's objectively true. And you can see here, American soldiers themselves filming 117 radar unit being blown up in their own base in Kuwait. I mean, is morale and is morale and discipline in this army so low that your own soldiers are just standing during a bombing raid and filming their own losses for the world to see? Is it really that bad? I mean, this is really humiliating. If I were the commanding officer, I would court-martial the whole lot of them. I mean, obviously, the Iranians are going to know they struck the radar. They're not stupid. They have satellites from the Chinese. They will know. It's the principle, though, that you have such lax or non-existent operational security that you're just giving away free intelligence about the strike accuracy on your own bases. Why would you do this? What kind of army does this? This is like shambolic behavior. I don't think it was even this bad in Vietnam, and they had fragging. This is really, really bad. It's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. Right? And the Iranians, they just keep coming with these drones non-stop, right? They just keep going and hitting these bases over and over and over and over again, right? Every single day, grinding specifically those units to dust. So there you go, right? There you go. This is one of the most humiliating military campaigns so far, right? In history. And let's put the word campaign aside and just kind of look at you know, the word losses instead. Let's use that, because regardless what happens in the end, even if, you know, they nuke Iran, God forbid, what happened here is not going away and it can't be erased. And they are hiding it like you would not believe in all regards, right? They're trying to stop satellite imaging companies from publishing it. They're stopping Israelis from filming it. And it's the irony of American soldiers of all people, right? Filming. It's just, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's really one of the worst losses the Americans have suffered. It's one of the worst losses any military in history has suffered. $2+ billion. And really, forget the money for a second, right? Because the whole economy is geared towards war anyway. It's the principle that you have one of 6 radars, like the 132, in the world. It's the only one in the Middle East. And it's just gone. And now they have to gut Guam. So what the Americans are doing is they're hollowing out, they're harvesting their own organs from their bases in Korea and in Guam, and basically leaving the Pacific completely exposed. I mean, it's not like anyone wants to attack them, right? It's in their own heads. But they're leaving it completely exposed from a strategic point of view in order to compensate for this bollocks. I mean, what do they think is going to happen? They think Iran isn't just going to blow up the new ones? I guarantee you they won't even be there for a day before they get completely barbecued, extra crispy again. Well, there you go. You know, it's I might get in trouble again for covering the war accurately, but I'm not going to lie to you. This is what happened. This is factual. This is all, you know, I have all the supporting documents, and I've tried to present it as unbiased as possible and give you my analysis, and that's it. Okay. It's very bad. It's very bad for the US and Israel.